Okay. All right. Sorry. Apologies. Okay. So here's a little poll. Which prioritization frameworks do you prefer to use in your team? Is it Moscow? Is it RICE? Is it cost of delay? Is it WSJF? And or do we just wing it? A lot of times we also have to do that. Uh, you can scan the QR code, or you can go to slido.com, whatever you prefer, and answer the question. We'll give it 1 minute, a little less than 1 minute. Let's say 45 seconds, um, and then let's see. We have a few answers coming in, and not very surprisingly, we just wing it is at 50%, and that is very, very realistic, I must say. And Moscow is the second best, an old framework, but it's still used and it's still very, very effective. Okay.
Okay. Seems then it will be quite a valuable talk, and you will find maybe something important for you.
Yeah, of course. All right. With this, I will now hand it over to Kateryna. I will stop sharing, and over to you, Kateryna.
Okay, thank you much. So, as it was already said, thank you, Batul, for introduction. My name is Kateryna. I'm working as a product manager and Scrum Master at Cisco System, and I'm also an active volunteer and mentor in Women Tech, helping empower the new generation of female tech leaders. I'm proud to be ranked in the top 1% of product management mentors on ADPList as well. So, in my work, I constantly face a challenge we all know too well, and it is prioritization. How do you choose from dozens of ideas and request the one that actually moves a business forward? When I firstly came to the industry, we had a simple method. Moscow, which like part of you already voted for it. Must have, should have, could have, won't have. It seemed perfect. The backlog was very structured. Everyone understood that must came first. But after several years, I realized that Moscow is just a starting point. It doesn't solve the real problem. A critical regulatory update and a manager's important idea could both end up in must. So formally, the same, they are must, but their real value and the cost of delay is totally different. So today I'll share different methods of prioritization which I was using through different contexts with different companies, and I will explain you why I used especially this method in different contexts. So let's start with the first one: why Moscow didn't work. Let's be honest, Moscow has three clear strengths. The first one is simplicity. So you can really explain it in 5 minutes to both your team and the stakeholders. It is really visual clarity and simple because everyone loves seeing must and should. This method is also convenient for small teams, where priorities are set per release by default. So, in case you need to concentrate your focus in one release, it's really easy to understand what is the must. But then, let's look at the drawbacks. For long-term planning, you usually need to compare items like across the quarter or a whole year. You have a year product roadmap. You need to estimate cost benefits. You need to make the trade-off based on a capacity. And then Moscow doesn't give the level of structure because everything can end up as a must. And it doesn't help you to schedule or commit over many months. The second drawback for me is subjectivity. I'm sure many of you have seen this. A prioritization meeting can quickly turn into a battle for the must, and the loudest voice will usually win. The third one is lack of connection to real value. Why is this must? Because the client asked for it? Okay, but how many clients? Which segment? What actually value does it bring? Moscow doesn't answer these questions. And then it doesn't account for the fact that the time is money. Fourth is scalability, what I really felt in my experience that for one team it is fine. But when you have a lot of dependencies from other teams, from other vendors, but when you have like 10 plus products or distributed teams or different markets and the budget, then Moscow falls apart. And as a result, when we choose the prioritization method, we should take into account which items are compared, what is the foundation of a estimation, and whether it is possible to scale it for all the organization. And then for as otherwise there will be inconsistent language and metrics. One team's high priority may be another team's nice to have, and without a common scoring framework, a comparison across teams or products, it will be very subjective and misleading. And scalability is really important because one method across the organization will make sense for the making a portfolio level of planning, and it will be more efficient with this. So what I really faced the difficulty with was a long-term planning by using Moscow because it didn't provide a solid foundation for quarterly or yearly roadmap, and it lacked quantitative measures. We decided to search for another prioritization method, and it's how we came to the RISE framework. So, when me and my team we realized that the Moscow wasn't enough for long-term planning, we started looking for a framework that considered multiple variables in a prioritization. And that's where RISE stood out. It allows you to weight more than one factor making your decision. So, the framework was co-developed in 2014 by Sean McBride, a product manager at Intercom. At the time, McBride and his team were struggling to find a decision-making method that worked in their context. So, this method was created to address several very common problems. First one is decision-making for favored pet ideas rather than ideas with broad reach. In many teams, the loudest stakeholder or most senior voice would push their own ideas forward, even those ideas which will not bring so much benefit for most users. And second, the ideas weren't checked well enough against the goals, and without a structured methods, team often pursued interesting initiatives that didn't tie back up to the strategic objectives. So, third one was effort was often ignored. Teams sometimes prioritized high visibility features without considering the time and resources required. And fourth, confidence wasn't taken into account at all. To solve these issues, McBride introduced four key parameters: reach, impact, confidence, and effort. So let's break them down. When we talk about the reach, the first attribute in the framework, reach means estimating how many people your idea or initiative will affect within a specific period of time. This factor is important because it helps you to avoid the bias. Without it, you might focus on a small group of users who don't actually represent the majority. When you estimate reach, ask yourself, how many users or customers do I think this will impact during a certain time frame? You need to decide what the time frame will be and then apply it consistently. For example, when you measure impact over the next month or over the next quarter or the year or the week, so what will you measure and over the which period of time? Then, once you have chosen the time frame, the next step is to turn that estimate into numbers. You calculate how many users this really represents. For instance, you have 7,000 monthly active users. If you expect an idea to affect 60% of them in a month, you will reach around 4,000 of users. If you measure it over a quarter, it would be around 12,000 and a half of users. And compared this idea to the Moscow, we simply labels feature as a must or should without numbers. And reach provides a clear, quantifiable way to understand how many actually people are really impacted. And this makes prioritization more objective and less driven by opinions or politics. Then let's look to the impact. Impact is most useful when measured in relation to a higher level goal or objective, such as OKR. For example, you might have a goal like increase conversion by 10%. And then, when evaluating the impact, ask yourself, how much will this affect individual user? Or in the example above, how will this idea affect conversion and by how much? Sometimes a situation requires that we account for urgency. And in this case, the parameter you should focus on is exactly impact. Since the most urgent an initiative, the greater the immediate effect on key outcome or users. In McBride's original formula at Intercom, impact was measured using a scaled system from 1 or 0 to 3, allowing teams to quantify how much influence a given initiative could have. For example, massive impact will equal number 3. High impact, number 2. Medium impact will have number 1. Low impact, 0.5, and minimal impact, 0.25. Let's say you may choose to use your own scale here. I've seen different scales from 1 to 5 and from 1 out of 10, and even custom ones such as large impact 3, medium impact 2, and low impact 1. This is for you to define and find what works for you. Just remember that whatever scale you choose, it needs to be quantifiable. For example, you cannot use t-shirt sizing like S, M, L. I will give you some examples. A new feature simplify onboarding will have high impact and we will rate it as 2 because it improves retention. A minor UI tweak will have a low impact, 0.5. Then let's look to the confidence. Confidence is an interesting dimension, and sometimes it's arguably for all the prioritization of frameworks. Because a product work is inherently uncertain and it includes confidence, help us acknowledge that uncertainty and factor it in our decision. When calculating confidence, ask yourself, how confident am I in this idea? How confident am I in the scores I've assigned for reach and impact? Usually, common problems which confidence help to address could be teams which are relying too much on assumptions instead of validating ideas. So it will help you to understand whether you need to brainstorm or test it a little bit more. Then the decisions are based on strong opinion rather than data. So it will also push you to gather more data and make your decisions really data driven there. Third is prioritization course, because reach input effort appear precise but hide big unknowns. And we are checking here whether we are truly sure that we know about these numbers or not. If you are looking for a simple way to measure it, you can express confidence as a percentage. For example, 50% you're confident, 80% you are much more confident, and so on. For example, high confidence will be 100%, medium confidence 80%, low confidence 50%, and below 50 it will be just a wild guess. So then your measure will be represented as 100%, 80%, 50%, and just guess. And usually what helps to me to explain team what means 100 percent. For example, 100% could be that it is data and which comes from experience or similar or historic information, and this data is reliable. And 50% could be just the assumptions from one of the team members or from the stakeholders, and it brings a high risk there. However, like with the impact, you're constrained to this, you are not constrained to this scale. I've often seen 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%. So when people choose 25% gap, or 10% gap when you have 10, 20, 30, 40, and ads for confidence as well. So you really could customize it for how it is more convenient for your team, which data you could get to make it a really a comfortable tool for your team. For example, in case you have some analytics to show and you know that it will be quite a high level and you could put 75% of confidence there. For impact based only on guessing, it could be 25. Confidence can also act as a forcing function for discovery, as I already said, and ensure that you really have all the information to make your decision really well data informed. When setting a confidence score, ask yourself, how much data or supporting evidence do I have for this idea and the scores I gave? And in case you know, I'm not sure whether I could have some data, so how could I improve the confidence level? So, what you could use? You could use historical data, you could use some analytics data, you could run small tests or A/B experiments, you could get team input, and you could update the estimates as new data comes in. And about the effort. Effort is the denominator in the rise formula and making it the balancing factor. Even if an idea is promising, you have like a huge reach or a huge impact with a strong confidence, it might still not be worth putting it to the top of your backlog if it requires really a lot of effort and it is disproportionately high. By explaining this effort, we need to make sure that we prioritize not just on value, but also on feasibility. And common problems effort usually help us to address and to think about whether a team focus only on potential gains while ignoring the delivery complexity. Is it a large and resource-heavy in, initiative, and whether it is overshadows similar high-leverage ideas? Whether roadmap becomes unrealistic because effort wasn't properly estimated, and how to measure the effort. Effort is typically measured in the work one person can complete, and you can also use story points, days, or sprints depending on your team's standards. And it is the important part in consistently. So, in case you're using, for example, sprints in your organization, make sure all other teams are using sprints as well, so you have consistency in your organization. Let's look at the practical example here. So let's imagine a SaaS company adding a new team collaboration feature, which could be a promising. We will name it Opportunity X. Using the RISE framework, we can break it down as follows. Reach. So for each, the feature target currently our existed subscribers and is expected to impact 10,000 of users in the first 3 months. And then impact. The new feature could significantly enhance the user experience, rated as 4 out of 5, which will mean high impact. Then confidence. Feedback from a recently survey of beta users supports the expected demand, given a confidence rating of 75%. So we are quite confident in our data, and we already had some surveys from beta users here, and we put 75%. And then effort. The development and testing for this feature would take 8 weeks based on the historical data, or for our team, it will be 4 sprints as we calculate it in a sprint, and it will include the design and the support. So then we could see that our score is 7,500, and compared to other projects, this feature ranks really moderately. It will be in the middle. While the impact and confidence are high, the reach and effort suggest it may not be the top of priority compared to initiatives with broader reach or shorter development time. So it will be taken after the opportunity Z, which has higher reach, lower effort to one sprint, and small impact. So why you could use the RISE framework for prioritization? RISE is a powerful and widely adopted prioritization tool, and it's easy to see why. It reduces bias from prioritizing a reach instead of the loudest requests in the room, and by including confidence, it encourages teams to use data and validation but when making the decisions. RISE also promotes product management best practices, such as objective decision making. RISE gives a clear numerical way to compare the initiatives, reducing the reliance on good feelings or politics in your company. Prioritizing customer centricity through reach will focus on the initiatives that have the greatest impact on the users. Supporting decisions with data will help you to improve transparency in prioritization. Teams and stakeholders can see exactly how scores were calculated while making the prioritization more understandable and offensive. And it is acknowledging the uncertainty. Confidence explicitly accounts for risk will help teams to mitigate some surprises and make really informed choices. And finally, it's scalability across teams. Works for small features or large initiatives or quarterly roadmap, as long as reach, impact, confidence, and effort are defined consistently, it will be really, really helpful for your team and you will be able to scale it across the organization. By combining these elements, RISE give teams a structured, objective approach to deciding what to build next. And let's look at another example, cost of delay. And when use, cost of delay will be the most appropriate. And for me, I usually prefer to use when I have different types of initiatives, such as like setup, CI and CD, or agile transformation, or test automation, or operational excellence. So there are a different approach is needed, and one that considers both external and internal factors as well. So you have someone external out of your organization, which could impact your product and your organization, and that's where the cost of delay comes in. Let's look at the next scenario. You have 10 features you could build. Everyone says that they are important. Your team could complete only three at a time. And in many organizations, the decisions will usually based on the politics, good feelings, the loudest voice, maybe some data from analysis, maybe I/B test. But people are not very much confident whether they made the right decision or not, which often could lead to the missed opportunities. And then the cost of delay in this situation will give us a way to quantify the impact of waiting. So turning prioritization from opinion based into the data informed decision making. And what is the cost of a delay? Cost of delay quantifies the financial impact of time in relation to a product outcome. It measures the cost of not delivering a product or feature by a certain deadline. It emphasizes lost opportunities and really sheds light on it. For example, you could see the financial impact. And there is a direct loss in revenue due to delayed market entry or project feature uh, completion. There could be opportunity cost, which means missed benefits that could have been realized with one-time delivery. There could be competitive disadvantage, for example, loss of the market share to competitors who delivered the solution faster, and customer dissatisfaction when potential loss of customer trust and loyalty due to delays or really be not on the right time when it was really necessary for the customers. In simple terms, every delay costs the organization their resources or loyalty and strains the stakeholders' relationships and could increase miscommunication within their teams. And just to simplify, it's the value you lose per unit of time by not doing something now. And when you think about cost of delay, it will help you to answer questions like, if we delay this feature by a week, what are we losing? Or what's the cost of waiting with this feature for a sprint, for a tool, for a release, or for much time? When will be the point of the time when we will already lose the potential profit here? Cost of delay can be expressed in dollars, in points, or relative scoring, or in any metrics meaningful to your organization. So, let's look at the example. A new checkout feature could bring $10,000 per week in additional revenue. And in case there will be delay by 2 weeks, then the cost of delay will be 20,000. Because, for example, you have a New Year Eve and you really need to have this feature by the New Year. And then you will be able to see that this sum multiplied by 2 will be 2,000 per week by 2 weeks, of course. And why use cost of delay for prioritization? In Agile and Scaled Agile framework, we often really break it for the components. User or business value, like how much value does this feature bring to your customers or business, or time criticality, does delay reduce the value? For instance, seasonal campaigns, regulatory deadlines, or market windows. Risk reduction and opportunity enable will delivering now reduce risk or open new opportunities in the future. By scoring each of these, you get a total cost of delay, which tells you which work matters most now. And as example, it could be e-commerce feature. Flash sale feature launch during Black Friday will have high time criticality, and missing the window will cost some revenue. Regulatory compliance. New legislation requires reporting change, and it will bring a high risk, and delay will miss the risk penalty. Customer feedback feature. Small usability improvements requests by power users, and delays will reduce retention and satisfaction of the users. So, in all cases, cost of delay highlights what the delay truly costs to the business. Calculating cost of delay involves quantifying the financial impact of delays, and it depending on the formula. And I will show you the formula one more time here. So the basic formula will be lost revenue or value per time of unit, multiply on delay duration, as we see it here in this example. So a new product is expected to generate $1,000 per month, and its launch is delayed by 2 months. So then the cost of delay will be $200,000. So also we could consider for more complex scenarios. For complex cases, the cost of delay calculation depends on many factors, and they keep evolving over the course of the project. Considering some basic guidelines will be a good starting point for most of cost of delay calculations. For example, you could consider incremental value loss. In certain scenarios, value or revenue increases over time. This happens due to market growth or seasonal demand. For such cases, incremental value loss needs to be factored into the calculations. Cost increments. It's advised to factor in additional costs incurred due to the delay. It will increase the labor costs, storage fees, or other penalties fall into this category. Risk adjustments. Some projects are complex by default, and for such projects, incorporating risk factors in the cost of delay can help estimate future losses more accurately. The expressed value will need adjustments in this case. The opportunity cost. There is always an opportunity cost of not being able to allocate resources to other products or initiatives due to the delay. Here we estimate the value that alternative projects could have generated within the same time frame. And returning to the question, why should product managers really use the cost of delay approach? We could say, by the word expert, Don Reinhardt famously said, if you have only one thing to calculate, quantify the cost of delay. The benefits you could find that it leads to more accurate estimates of the value and cost of each initiative, provides useful data to stakeholders. Cost of delay gives a quantifiable framework for prioritization discussion. When stakeholders ask why certain work comes first, you can respond with data instead of opinions, explaining we prioritize these because delaying in cost will bring us X cost value per week, whereas delaying will cost us Y per week. Then it will support defending the roadmap against urgent, disruptive requests. Everyone, I suppose, here saw that we have sometimes some urgent requests, and it usually without some data in information behind our decision, it's difficult to say no to these disruptive requests. And when we will use cost of delay, it can provide useful data points to stakeholders asking for a change in the priority. So product managers often face very urgent requests, and otherwise you will have the strategic plan captured in the product roadmap, and you will say hey, in case we will wait with this request, it will cost us a sum of money. So then it will bring more data-driven information to your stakeholder. Using cost of delay, a product manager can show stakeholders the economic impact of delaying work, helping protect the team and maintain focus on strategic priorities. And usually there are some quite common misunderstandings which people think about cost of delay, and I will also mention them here. Usually people think that cost of delay is just revenue. No, it's not just a revenue. It can also include risk, opportunity, customer value, depending on what your organization care about most. Secondly, people think that, it cannot be perfect. We cannot really calculate the exact sum or exact opportunity we will win or lose in this situation. And even rough estimates are valuable because they will provide the guidance and improve prioritization compared to guessing. And it's really dynamic. Cost of delay can change as market conditions, customer needs, or business priorities evolve. So scoring should be reviewed periodically. And if we talk about the cost of delay, key takeaways, you need just to remember that cost of delays quantifies the impact of waiting and helping teams to make more informed decisions. It will include user value, time criticality, and risk opportunity considerations, giving a holistic view of what matters most. And even approximate cost of delay scoring will improve your methods of prioritization and will reduce the influence of good feeling or just the politics inside your company. And thinking in cost of delay shifts the team from what feels urgent to what truly delivers the value now. And I would tell you that next time you ask yourself, what should we do first? Ask instead, what is the cost of delaying each option there? And the key lesson, prioritization is not about picking the perfect framework. It's about creating a common language of value. And frameworks like Moscow, RISE, or cost of delay could be really good from the point of tools in your organization. And the real work is about connecting every feature to its impact on money, customers, or risk, and communicating that clearly. So whenever you use any of this tool, make sure it's really bring the value to your team. It could be scalable. In case you have a year or quarterly roadmap planning, make sure that you will be able to present all the information there. And make sure that the team, stakeholders, and business all speak the same value language, and then the decision will become faster, and the debate become shorter, and the outcome became really real. So the takeaway is really simple. Focus on the value, make it visible, and let the numbers speak for themselves. And of course, the frameworks will help, but the language of the value is what actually drives the business forward. And in case you will also have some questions after our discussion, you are really free to join and connect with me at LinkedIn, and I will be really glad to collaborate with you afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kateryna. Let me reshare my screen so I can share the Slido. Okay. Okay. Um, just a second. All right. So, apologies for Q&A. You can also, again, if you haven't scanned the QR code or you haven't accessed slido.com yet, you can do that right now. In the meanwhile, we'll start asking some of the questions that are asked. Feel free to keep adding questions to it, and we will read them out to Kateryna. So the first question is, how do you balance the math of price with the intuition of product judgment?
Okay, so first of all, I think like what information I really have, and I think what will be really more important in this situation, whether it is like reach or impact or confidence, how I'm really confident here, because my personal product the judgment will be based on my confidence, and Rise really helped me to understand how confident I am and balance it with the number of users which I will reach, or who will be impact, or how many efforts the team will require to implement it.
Thank you so much. Another question is, have you ever combined frameworks beyond RISE plus cost of delay to fit a unique context?
So it would really depend on this is situation you could have, yeah. For example, if you are only like one team, you're a small startup company, you have one team of the developers, you could use Moscow and combine it with the cost of delay here, yeah, because you don't need to have a really scale framework. So, but you will have to be really sure you are on time with your releases, with your demos, so then you could combine them. So I suppose it will really be tied on what you are going to measure and how scale your organization or team is.
All right. Thank you. Another question is, what worked best for you in creating buy-in when introducing new prioritization metrics? So this is I think it's a burning question for a lot of us, because a lot of times when we introduce prioritization metrics, it is met with, oh, we don't have time for that. So what worked best for you in creating these um,
So
buy?
usually, yeah.
Yeah.
So first of all, I need to ensure that the people really bought this idea of the framework, and it is really clear for them. So usually I make like a small workshop when I try to gamify and to just show them like easy examples and explain how we could do it. As without a workshop, your team will not be able to feel confident. So I suppose it's really important to have this like maybe 1 hour of workshop and come back to the best practices afterwards to ensure your team really un- un- understands how to use it. Yeah, and I usually try to gamify it, to use some like tools like like mirror, like other tools to make it more gamifiable, to help people to learn it more faster.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. Another one on the leadership stakeholder management bit. How do you manage situation where leadership disagrees with the outcome of the prioritization exercise?
I will look at the situation why they are disagreeing with this prioritization, because both rise and cost of delay really really provides the data on which I could rely when I communicate with the stakeholders. In the cost of delay, I could explain them what will be the revenue lost or the opportunity missed there. And in this case, I usually try to explain them which data I used to take this decision. But in case I have some more newest data, they are also free to provide me any data to decide there.
All right. So essentially, relying on your data when
Yeah,
you
yeah.
present any sort of
Com-
prioritization or outcomes.
completely,
Yes, absolutely.
completely. But sometimes they could like have more newest data from sales or marketing team or something like that, and it's also fine. I will look at their data to look at their arguments, and then I will see whether we should change something.
All right. So a few more. What's been your most memorable lesson learned when a prioritization decision went wrong?
Mm, what lesson learned this question? Um, I suppose sometimes, like me as a product manager, I could be really driven about like the number of users we could potentially reach there, or what the impact could be. And sometimes it's really good to listen to your team about the efforts, about the risks there. So what was the lessons learned for me? Really be very attentive to the risks about the efforts your team are highlighting to you. So just hear your the development team and really take the risks in the development to account.
All right. Just drawing onto that, what if will be your advice for teams that don't have enough data for RISE? Sometimes the data setups is not efficient. Sometimes there is no data setup to start with, right? What would be your
So I
advice
would
there?
definitely try to gather some data in case it is like possible to predict some data. Try to gather it and try with your just thought how you think, and then afterwards, when you tried it, just see whether you really got so many like people or not. And you could just start with like the parts of it, like how confident you are or which data you already have. So in case you don't have all the set of data, you could just start with what you have for now and just continue to gather or to start gathering the data.
All right. That's good enough. Thank you. Another question. So in fintech specifically, speed matters a lot. How do you avoid over-engineering prioritization frameworks that might slow the team down?
So I censored how I avoid over in engineering. So do you know how
Engineering.
I avoid?
Yeah, so it's basically how do you manage speed with getting too much into prioritization, and then making sure that we are shipping the products as fast as we can. Because in fintech, someone is coming up with something new that is exciting for a short period of time, and then it dies out. So yeah.
So as I said, cost of delay and rise could really help here because you know, like when is the last date for you to push it, when it will be really actual, and afterwards maybe not so much. Yeah, sometimes you have something really urgent there, and then we just should balance it with what we have in our backlog other, and cost of delay will really help here and reach. So you could even try to combine both of them and see how many people you will impact by doing it, and how confident you are, and what is the date to which you need to ship it.
Thank you so much. These are wonderful answers. It was wonderful hearing about prioritization. Someone talk about prioritization as well. These are all the questions that we had. We are also almost at time, so I will take these few minutes to talk a little bit about product people. You can still ask your questions. We can send them over to Kateryna later on. Okay. So, just a little bit about product people, when to engage with us. We, as mentioned earlier, we do interim product management or product leadership. We cover for permanent positions that you're hiring for. For example, it takes 3 to 9 months for hiring. We also cover for parental leave, and we are also there for important and urgent initiatives. For example, product discovery, delivery, shipping out a big launch, or expanding into other markets. We also provide program management and product ops skills. So if you are looking for upskilling your product management team or creating streamlined processes for your product team, we're there to help. The third use case is transformation acceleration. So, for example, we've worked with companies who were more sales led or tech led to more product led, and we've used similar strategies in prioritization, other product management strategies to help them. And we also configure your product strategy and their team structure. These are a few use cases that where we come in and we help you. These are some of our B2C clients: eBay, FreeNow, and some others. We have worked with a bunch of B2B clients as well. Um, and if I talk about a little bit of our stats, we have supported over 690 plus cross-functional teams. We are a team of 40 product leaders and product managers. We have around 59% women in our team, and also 60% in our leadership team. So we're very female-led company. And lastly, thank you so much for listening in. We do live streams every Tuesday at the same time. Please share any questions with us. We'll be happy to share it with Kateryna. And also, if we can also help, please don't hesitate to reach out. There are another few resources we are hiring. We're always looking out for the best candidates. You can scan this QR code for to apply, and then if you want to also read about what we post on our newsletter, we also have some exciting things there. Please feel free to scan the QR code. I think all right, I think we have a minute more. Next week we have innovation within product management, and it will be around the same time. And I think that's it. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you so much, Kateryna, for taking out the time. It was lovely speaking with you. It was a very informative session, especially for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Batal.